Good morning. It's Malik, your financial emancipator. So I'm here today, Saturday morning, and I don't usually do a podcast on the weekend, but today I wanted to do a little video for the weekend. Say hi to you guys. One, I don't do that enough, and just talk to you a little bit about my last episode. The last episode of the podcast, episode 120, 123, was called "Politics as Usual" or not. I did a podcast. That episode was really just talking about the power of your money and the power your money has in its ability to dictate and be like for you to be a player in the political game and why that's important. And I got a lot of feedback from folks. Some of it was like, we don't want to hear people talking about politics, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's okay, because this is me, this is the form I have, and this is the things I'll talk about. But a lot of people, the episode got a lot of traction, a lot of listens, and a lot of feedback where people kind of just have a feeling. People have a feeling about government. People have a feeling about what's going on in the world now. And people just really feel strongly that, you know, we're like out of control. And I don't believe that. It's really terrible what's going on right now in this country. But we're not without our ways of contributing. So I brought up, if you haven't listened to the episode, please go ahead, pause this, go over to SoundCloud, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and listen to the episode so you kind of get the context of what I'm talking about. But in the episode, I talked a lot about being able to utilize whatever resources you have to support candidates who support the things that you believe in, mainly because the stuff has an impact on your life. And I talked about different ways in which the government has an impact on your life. And a lot of people will believe that, particularly if they've made it to a certain financial level, that the government doesn't impact their financial life. And there are some people who believe that if they do not receive government subsidies, or if they don't receive government handouts, as people call them, that they're not receiving, that it doesn't impact them, which is not true. Your finances are very heavily impacted by the amount of money that you earn and how much of that money you earn you're able to bring home. I gave the example of the Social Security payment, whereas once you earn over $112,000, you no longer have to contribute every paycheck to your Social Security. It's a big thing. Depending on how much money you earn, when in the year that falls, you receive extra money in your paycheck. And that is a benefit for people who earn more. How much taxes come out of your check, that's and how much you owe at the end of the year, that's because of the government. And so you cannot be absent of what happens on a federal level, but also, what happens on a state level. Who are your state legislators? Who are the people who are running your town, your city, your community? Who represents you in Congress? I mean, I've said this in the podcast. I live in New York City. I have Democrats who represent me from the top down, every stage, every part of government, state legislature, everybody's a Democrat. But I'm not happy with everyone. And there are a few people there who I would like to see someone else. There are people, I have a woman who represents me, who's been representing my district in the state legislature since I was a child. She has been there for 30 something years. She has not accomplished very much. She's 81. She doesn't even do public appearances anymore. So I venture to guess that she's not even really being a participant, but no one has challenged her. So she just keeps getting elected and just keeps going back and receiving a paycheck to do basically nothing on behalf of the people who live in my community. So that's a problem. And as a person who is looking to be financially free, you have trouble being financially free if the government is like doing things that you don't agree with the money that you are forced to give them. So just keep that in mind. It's not that I'm saying we should be, everyone should be so politically savvy. As I mentioned in the podcast, I have a degree in political science with a minor in sociology. I am someone who cares a lot about politics, always cared about government. So that is something that's deeply personal to me. And I work in government, so it's all deeply personal to me. But I don't think that any of us who attempt to be financially free can do so being absent of what the government does. Anyone who's talking about gentrification and how it's impacting your neighborhood, that is the government. That is what the government in your town or your city has done, and made agreements with businesses to allow investors to come in and take over your neighborhood and price you and the people you love out. That's gentrification, is the hands of the government, and you have to make regulations and rules that doesn't allow that to happen in the way that it's happening. That's your city council person. That's your person who represents you. That's important. Everything is not about the president. A lot of it is local, and what about who represents you? So keep that in mind when you have a little extra money. If you want to donate to campaigns, you should do that, because it really matters who represents you in the government. It matters to your financial freedom.